So, we're here with another book report. John dies at the end. If you couldn't tell just by the cover, it's quite different than the last one I read. It is a work of fiction. What exact genre of fiction, I can't exactly say. I don't think it's fantasy, but it's also not realistic. Also, definitely not sci-fi. Well, maybe. I don't think it's sci-fi. I don't know. It's confusing. So, yeah. About the book. So, it starts out with the, two main characters, John and David, accidentally discovering this drug. Not sure if it's actually a drug, but they call it a drug, called soy sauce. That's not its actual name also, but they call it soy sauce. So they accidentally discover it, and then basically their world goes to shit. Again, as I said, this book is pretty confusing at times, and I think it's deliberately confusing. So the book is divided into two parts. Part one is where a lot of the confusion is. And it details the, first reactions to, the soy sauce and what's going on. And to be honest, in the context of what happens in part two, I'm not sure what part one is about. But it happens. And I really like part one of this book. It has the right blend of comedy, but also, I'd say confusion a lot, but it is very confusing, and I think that that's a good thing, for this book, because it keeps you on edge, and you never really know what's going to happen next. It's an interesting feeling when reading a book. And certainly... Anyway, what was I saying? But you never really know what's going to happen next, and part one of this book is pretty unique among other books that I've read. Part two, though, I don't really like part two that much. Part two, there's definitely a tonal shift, like a pretty big one, and, I don't like it very much. It's not the same as part one. And also the book ending. I don't really like the ending, and I'm not going to spoil what that ending is, but what I will say is that it's detailed enough that you're not really left curious at the end of the book, but it's not detailed enough that you really get a full set of answers for what has happened. I really don't like that. I said that confusion was an asset for this book, but in the ending it really wasn't. It was not done well in the ending. Maybe that's just because I haven't read the sequel to the book. There is a sequel. I don't know. But just reading this book, at least, I'm left pretty unsatisfied at the end. And I definitely think that the first part is better than the second. Overall, I'd say it's a pretty good book. One of the more interesting, works of fiction that I've read, definitely. There are quite a few memorable moments. Quite a few things that will stick with you. Whether I'd recommend reading it? I mean, if you have some spare time, and you happen to have a copy of this book, sure. I'm not sure I'd recommend going out and buying it. But anyway, that's my review. Hopefully that is all you need to know to pique your interest. By the way, spoiler alert, John doesn't actually die at the end.